So while we're waiting a few minutes, can I just confirm that we have the Flame presenters on the call? So is there, Mike Matten, are you on the call?
I am here, but Mark will do the presentation and he is joining at this moment.
Okay, no problem. And Sebastian, Dirk, who is currently on the call?
Sebastian, Dirk will be delayed and therefore I will take the presentation.
Okay. Unfortunately, Sebastian, I do not have a picture of you, but you'll have to be a proxy for Dirk.
That's all right.
Okay, so I think we will begin. Just a point of protocol. If all people on the call could put their microphones on mute. We are expecting a fair few people to be on the call, and it just helps for the clarity of the speaker that we mute our mics when we are not speaking. Okay, so welcome to the first open call webinar for the Flame project. My name is Michael Boniface and I am the coordinator of the project, and the purpose of the call today is for us to provide potential applicants, that's you, of the open call, with information about the project, what we are offering, and also what we are looking for. We will provide a series of 4 presentations, and then there will be an opportunity for question and answers. We would like you to hold your question and answers until the end of the presentations. So if you have notes, please make them as we go along. There will be plenty of opportunity for you to ask any specific questions and for us to provide our responses. So who will be speaking today? Well, myself, Michael Boniface, I am the project coordinator and technical director of the IT Innovation Centre. We have Dirk, unfortunately, can't be with us, so we will have Sebastian from Interdigital, who will be presenting the technical aspects. We have Mike from VRT, who is one of the early experiment partners within the project, who can give you an idea of the sorts of experiments that we're looking for. So now I'm going to mention an overview of the Flame project. So Flame is an EC-funded project, and our goal is to establish a future media internet ecosystem using experimentation as service. That ecosystem is looking at the experimentation of new sorts of media products and services that benefit from adaptive software-based infrastructures encompassing compute storage and the communication. Now, the key thing about these infrastructures is that they are deployed within real-life settings within sites such as cities of Bristol or Barcelona. Our systems are interactive media systems, but with tight integration with networking. Our activities are driven by experimentation as a basis for learning about acceptance, viability, and performance. And during the talk, we'll mention the term trials and experiments, and these are fairly similar in their making, but essentially we're looking for experiments or trials deployed within real life replication sites. And the outcomes of these experiments will be delivered to stakeholders within those ecosystems. So this is about the creative industries, media service providers, and those that operate the infrastructures on what this is all built upon. We're at H2020. Currently, we have 2 cities where experiments will be conducted in Bristol and Barcelona. We are currently 12 partners, with many more to come through the series of open calls. We are 3 years in duration, from January 17 to December 19, with a total budget of almost 7 million, of which 2.2 million will be used to fund what we term as third-party projects. Today, we are just over or approaching halfway through the project. So if you look at the timeline here, we finished our initial phase of creating the foundations, the first version of our platform by the end of February, and we're now entering a phase, our initial phase of experimentation, of which the open call forms an important part. So our goal is to build a new media service platform through the process of collaborative trials, experiments, and replication across other sites around Europe. What we offer is, first of all, real-life infrastructures. And what this means is that we have compute resources distributed and integrated with communication infrastructures across largely municipalities, but we may in future look at other types of sites. But initially, this open call targets the municipalities of Bristol and Barcelona. We are developing a media service platform that has some distinct capabilities. It has capabilities related to flexible service routing, flexible service management, and cross-layer management and control, where we're looking at the sharing of state and monitoring information between media services in the network for the purpose of improving the resourcing, policies, and also performance. We also offer a set of foundation media services for doing fairly general functions such as streaming, content management, and transcoding. Much more information on all of these details is available through our documentation and deliverables, so I won't be going through that in deep at this stage. We offer what we call knowledge and analytics. So we offer ways to conduct experiments that generate the monitoring and analysis information that allows you to understand the way in which the service and the infrastructure behave together. And we offer methodology support and training to those partners that join the project. So we're very interested in the interplay between different stakeholders at the infrastructure, platform, and service layer, and how they can work together to build an overall system that benefits everyone that is involved. And so a key output of this project is to understand the relationships between potential stakeholders in terms of their service level agreements, their resourcing policies, and in the end, the quality of experience and service delivered. We also offer the potential for what we call market showrooms. So those partners that run trials in our cities have the potential to create very high profile use cases. So for example, what we see on the slide here is one of the very first 5G trials that included end users in Bristol last year. It created a huge amount of marketing potential for the partners involved, and those people joining the project will be able to leverage that. So one of the reasons we're here is obviously this is the first open call. The project has 3 open calls, the one that's launched right now, one that's launched later this year, and one that's launched in 2019, and in total 2 million of funding. This call is about trials and experimentation, but the subsequent call, Open Call 2, will also focus on how we replicate the platform to other European cities. So what are we looking for in this call? What is the scope of the experiments and trials? So, as I said earlier, our systems are focused on interactive media systems, where the experience is located within outdoor spaces primarily. So here we are very interested in augmented and virtual reality and streaming, where the platform itself can benefit those applications by the optimal delivery of services, making use of the infrastructure. And where the infrastructure is different is that we begin to see a change in the distribution of the resources around the city to include both what we have today of centralized data centers along with the provisioning of services towards the edge. It's the edge provisioning that is incredibly important for Flame, and understanding what sort of services can be deployed and benefit from edge processing and storage is key. Now, underneath the applications, we have identified 4 main areas, which are general across the different types of content. And these areas include personalization, interactivity, localization, and mobility. And these areas contribute directly to enhanced quality of experience. So when we're thinking about new types of service, we need to think about these quality of experience parameters and how they can be benefited from the enhancements of the platform and the emergence of edge computing resources. At the center of this diagram is the human. So because the services we're looking for focus on interactive media, we put the human at the center of our systems. Anything, for example, that is to do with the production, distribution, delivery, and consumption must be related to a human. So even though you see IoT in this picture, we're not looking for IoT projects at this stage, for example, for vehicle management or the like. IoT in this context is related to humans and maybe, for example, wearables, and how data generated from IoT can benefit users. So we have 2 scopes. The first is the localized video production and consumption and delivery, focusing on today's devices. And what we're particularly looking for is highly localized on-demand live video production and distribution workflows, where the infrastructure resources closely align with the communication needs of consumers. So what this means is that we're looking for workflows where the production and consumption is local and not necessarily of a centralized cloud. So this is exploiting the edge. Projects should build business to consumer applications, building on intelligent edge-based video processing, or B2B media solutions for aggregating and distributing sources over geospatial content. So that's one area. The other area involves new forms of content, and we'd like to focus for this call on augmented and mixed reality trials and look at the way that content production, consumption, and delivery processes can be enhanced through our platform and infrastructure. Here we begin to see the opportunity to explore emerging consumer devices and applications and services where visualization may not be just through a mobile phone, but maybe through other types of wearables, including devices maybe like the HoloLens or other such mixed reality viewers. We accept that in this particular space that the workflows could be quite complex, and there's certainly more uncertainty in new forms of delivery using augmented and mixed reality in comparison to video streaming. And therefore we don't expect all projects to cover the entire end-to-end AR/VR workflow, but we do expect the innovation to be in the services at the edge and how those services are orchestrated, not just the devices and apps alone. So because Flame is a media delivery platform, it's the service aspect which is extremely important to us. We can't just come along with a new device and expect that sort of project to be funded. Okay, so that is the overview of the project, covering some of the timeline, some of the offering, and some of the scope of the call. What I'm going to do now is hand over to Sebastian, who's going to cover the technical aspects of our media delivery platform.
Okay.
I'm just going to show the slide. Okay. Or would you like to take control?
I would like to take control because there are a couple of animations and I have to press space.
Okay, go for it.
Thank you. So I already shared the screen, so you should see something. Can you just confirm that you see the slides now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So on behalf of Dirk, I'm presenting now the technical aspect of the Flame project, which is about the platform, the infrastructures underneath, and the foundational meter services the platform offers to all the experimenters that will be selected by the end of the call, of the Flame call. So the Flame platform, what does it actually deliver? So essentially, the Flame platform has a new way of delivering meter services and comprises of a modular architecture, which has, as Michael said before, cross-layer optimization and analytics and control element. And it heavily relies on the idea of edge computing. And this allows us to actually combine the traditional model of cloud services that are more centralized and with mobile edge compute facilities around the network, which is covered by the infrastructures at the moment in Bristol and Barcelona. The platform itself is deployed on an SDN fabric using NFV technologies, and this allows us to bootstrap the platform within minutes and the services on top within less than a minute. All the routing and switching is done within the platform, and this is where the key of the platform lies in. So on the right-hand side here, you see on the top the meter service, the yellow boxes, and then you have the blue Flame platform, which has clear interfaces on controller management, which is Etsimano, and on the user plane, which is HTTP. From the platform down to the infrastructure, we do talk OpenFlow and Etsimano, and on the user plane again, Ethernet. So can you please all mute your microphones, please? Someone has a microphone open that speaks French. Still open the microphone. Can you please all mute your microphone?
Yeah, I just want to reinforce that, as I said at the start of the call, it's important that if you're not speaking, we have some 37 participants. And if anyone has any background noise, the noise is actually quite difficult. So please mute your microphones. There's a little button at the bottom hand left of the screen if you're using a desktop that says mute.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, so as you can see, essentially the Flame platform utilizes existing interfaces, which is Etsimano, HTTP IP, Ethernet, and OpenFlow, and the quality of experience which we can provision through this new service delivery platform is a much more rich, personalized, interactive, mobile, and localized meter service for any service on top which talks HTTP. So the technical proposition of the platform. On the one hand side, we are much faster and adaptive than the current internet. So what does it mean? A, we can deploy services at the very edge of the network, for example, in a street cabinet where the user is literally one hop away from it. We can also provide the compute facilities then, which, as I just said, the one hop away actually meets the 5G KPIs, which is extremely low latency and extremely high throughput. And by distributing compute load, you also distribute essentially the resources required to offer a particular service, because you distribute the compute instances, and therefore the number of users served by a particular instance is lower. Also, we provide a much better service routing, which means that within a matter of 10 to 20 milliseconds, we can reroute any HTTP traffic to a new instance, and this solution, the Flame platform, does not rely on DNS anymore. Also, the inefficient triangular routing, what cloud providers do at the moment, it's like HTTP redirects to actually bounce you to a much more localized service, can be totally ignored in our platform because we do not rely on DNS anymore. On top of that, first a multicast delivery of HTTP responses. So it's not IP multicast, it's HTTP multicast by changing the semantics in the platform, which essentially allows delivery, the reintroduction of multicast for HTTP. On the other side, it's also more robust and secure. So for example, the understanding of which compute instance out there in the network has particular web resources is done by network level indirection, where the network understands where particular resources reside, and therefore the user will have access to a resource and the network figures out where it is. On top of this, it has also the insecure direct object reference that CDNs at the moment still rely on, where the platform acts under the name authority but not the content authority, and this allows us to actually redistribute any resource, any computational and storage resource, by acting under name authority, which means HTTPS is fully supported. And because of this, there's a secure end-to-end access to content, but the platform only acts under the name and therefore ensures that any content provider that applies for money and runs an experiment in one of the infrastructures will not need to expose content to the platform or any of the intermediate customers of the platform. So the dialogue between the experiment and the platform is, in the Flame platform proposition, slightly different than what we have nowadays in current deployments. So a media component on the very top talks to our orchestrator. There's a service template, and this service template is understood by the orchestrator, which basically defines the media components a media service provider would like to have and how they are connected to each other. The SLAs to demand, so the demand between those media services, they're actually described in SLAs, and they are communicated to the C and the C, which then translates it into something which our orchestrator understands and allows us to match the service template with the SLAs to ensure that the service is placed and configured at the right location in the network. So what does it mean internally for us? So the orchestrator receives the wholesale slice from the infrastructure. So all the constraints, our orchestrator is aware of the constraints of the infrastructure. This allows us to actually place the instances through the SFEMC, the service function endpoint management and control, into a particular point of the network using the SLAs provided prior to deployment. And those policies that are attached to it, for example, what latency is required, what load do you expect, what throughput numbers you expect, what type of service is supposed to be delivered through this particular service instance. This is all taken into account to make the best decision on where to place and how to configure the instances. Once the placement is done, the service function routing receives certain configurations, which allows us to do all the fast, robust, secure, and adaptive delivery of the service. And then once this is all done, we obviously have to configure certain parts of the infrastructure in order to ensure the resources. So Flame also offers what we call foundational media services. So the role of those services is essentially to provide all the existing building blocks to the media service providers that have been designed and tested against the capabilities of the platform. So those foundational media services provide the multicast, the indirection, and also allow the chaining using the template the media service provider has to write. And they have been always tested against the platform so that we can ensure once they are used by the media service provider, you will see all those benefits we have described before. At the moment, the foundational media services, they offer a metadata database, an adaptive streaming service, a transcoding service, a content conditioning service, content ingest storage, and a media quality analysis service. And as you can see on the right, this is adopted from an RFC from the IETF. It's called service function chaining, where essentially the chaining of the entire media service is given to the platform, and the service function routing in between those yellow boxes is done by the platform and is invisible to the media service provider on top. And all the all the benefits and capabilities of the platform is done within those orange boxes, which is more or less hidden in the platform. So the deployment in Bristol has essentially a fiber core network, which is the red line, and connects 4 active nodes. Is all full optical switching, and the blue pins there represent the access points for user end device to connect to the network. So as you can see, there are quite a number of wireless and mobile networks already available, which consists of Wi-Fi, LTE, and the new radio, the 5G new radio. Plus on top, we have compute infrastructures in Bristol, which are the purple boxes that allow it to place services much closer to the user. In Barcelona, the network is slightly different. There, it's a street which has high-speed radio access and also has already mobility support enabled. And the street cabinet there is an SDN connected compute device and offers the placement of services right at street level. And there's a main data center number else in the city, which offers the placement of much more resource intense compute facilities. The platform is the same there as in Bristol. It's just that the network size and the access capabilities are simply different. And that was the presentation from my side. So I'm now handing over to, I believe, Mike.
Thank you, Sebastian. It's either Mike or Mark, depending on, I think it may be Mark.
Yes, so
Okay.
I'm in a remote location, so I will let Mark do the presentation, as my connection from here might be a little bit unstable, but I'm available throughout and I will add comments if needed.
So to share the slides, what should I do?
There's a button at the bottom.
Yeah, okay.
Share screen.
Share screen. Do you see it now?
Yes, we see it. It's all good.
Okay. Okay. So to explain the role of a public broadcaster like the VRT in this project is to I think to start developing to be the input or the, let's say, the verification or the domain. We add domain knowledge of a broadcaster. There's this kind of technical project, meaning what can Flame offer us as services, as value in a city for a public broadcaster. So that's the participation of the VRT in this project. Yeah? And just to illustrate, for the first open call, what we are trying to achieve in this project, maybe we can inspire other participants to join the open call. Yeah, I think that's the idea. So this is Bristol. This is a very vivid city. So we want to work for the first in the city of Bristol. And of course, as a creative content provider, it's let's fill this town with artists. And this comes to the idea, yeah, what is a public broadcaster doing in a so-called future city or a future smart city? Yeah, and what we are trying to do as a public broadcaster is to verify, in the case of Bristol, what does a high-performance network and what can edge computing bring us in our activities in broadcasting itself and in our activities, let's say, to new formats, new programs, new interactions with end users. So for us, as a public broadcaster, what we're trying to do is can technology help us to get connected with the citizens in a smart city? And what we're trying, there is a large program ongoing in the VRT, which is in fact, how can we involve in the broadcast activity, in the content, in the creative content, how can we participate with end users in our media production. So co-creation and participative media are in fact the two concepts we want to verify here in the Flame platform, in the Flame network, or certainly in Bristol, is how powerful can be edge computing, how can it help, how can it contribute to these activities. So we're trying to do three major tests, yeah? As Flame is experimentation as a service. So we want to experiment with three major concepts. We want to do in the future large media events, for instance, in large sports events, try to capture the media event with a lot of contribution of participants. We also, I will talk a little bit about the media pipeline, one of the challenges when you work with end users, etc. And just a wall of moments. So we're trying to experiment, as I'm saying in this slide, is we're trying to experiment with urban journalism. We're trying to capture large sports events via what we call a wall of moments, which is an internal product we want to test here in a smart city environment. And of course, the third one, it's more future oriented. We are trying to do figure out new media or journalist formats. Yeah. So for us, if we see it is that for us, Flame is offering us as a kind of platform where experimentation as a service is central. So we, as a VRT, as a public broadcaster, want to try to verify three types of value propositions. So for instance, software-defined networking and network function virtualization. We like to test that in our experiment about urban journalists. The PIML properties of the media experience, we want to stretch that in our wall of moments, so-called wall of moments concept in a game or in a large sports event. And on the right side, you see what is our business focus and the impact for the VRT. So what are we hunting here in the experiments? For instance, for urban journalists, we want to verify if edge computing and all these components in the, like Sebastian was saying, media verification, media quality check, can it contribute to a cost-effective media production, meaning we capture, we store it in the network goes to a central broadcasting office where there is an end editing, and can we reuse the components in the network itself, again, to do narrowcasting, public cast, all kinds of castings. Yeah? The wall of moments is more an idea of can we test the presence of the service and the function routing, etc., and edge computing in a heavily interaction and with communities during a game or a sports event, and we also like to test here maybe stretching experiment as a service a little bit too far, but okay, at a conceptual level, can we do new journalism formats, saying that there is a lot of components around media available, and edge computing can offer us here fast response times in experiences of media. So this is a future vision where we're saying, okay, in the city, if we want to capture city life, we want to capture what people are busy with, and one of the large community events in the city today is large sports events. And there we envision with our technologies in our rollout of ideas is that we should allow people to involve and get a more immersive experience of the large sports events, where people can make video of their loved ones or their friends, and in community they can create television and they can narrowcast again to their friends, or they can when I show in the next slide is if you have social media around this, can we use that in linear television? Yeah. So here we see that the sport in the dream case is that even going live, that journalists are using user-generated content to complement to the normal journalist activity. In also when we trying to if we involve a lot of people, public in media production, we have to be very careful. And this concept of media pipeline is just to illustrate that okay, if you capture media or if you send media to a certain public broadcaster, you have to verify a lot of things. You have to verify the quality. You have to verify the content, if it's correct content, etc., etc. So you have to be very, very careful. Yeah. So we hope that, and we are doing a lot. Only part of these tests is all of these checks. Yeah. Can edge computing, can the components offered by Flame, can they offer components to build this pipeline? Yeah, it's of course it's not everything is at the moment addressed yet, but for instance, quality check, like Sebastian is saying, these already components are available. Yeah, in the Flame network, in the Flame offering. So we are testing this. So step by step, we are trying to experiment what is Flame offering and which component is already in place to have a sharing of media or a co-creation of media. So this is about safety. It's also about the response. Here is edge computing coming up. Is if a local capturing of video, can we, as soon as possible, for instance, in a large sports event, when your friend is passing by and you're capturing media and you're trying to contribute to a larger media production, you should be warned very fast that maybe your quality settings or your video is not okay. Let's take another shot. And these are the future visions we have. Okay, can a professional director immediately guide people and say, no, don't do that, yeah, etc. These are the ideas we are trying to test on the Flame platform and the Flame ecosystem, where we can say, okay, if we bring in these technologies as close as possible to the end user, maybe we can have a fast response or a fast or immersive connection with amateur professional. This is also the technical thing we have to learn as a public broadcaster. We have to learn, yeah, that there are architectures here to follow. This is a technical drawing how urban journalists, so meaning small units of video, capturing the video. You have an ingest, meaning the input has to be stored in the network. We have transcoding, media quality analysis, and so a lot of components are already offered by the Flame technical platform. This is you have to get used to it as a user of the framework, that you have to do scenarios and be aware of components and service chaining, etc. Just Wall of Moans is a future experiment we want to do, is to, this is as a kind of platform we are trying to test in Bristol on the Flame platform, where people during an event, this can be a game, we're not out of, we don't know exactly still what we're trying to do here is, but okay, in a kind of sports event or a game, we're trying to say, okay, can a lot of people, can we collect media together with citizens? Yeah, and then we bring in public screens, etc. So in the experiments, it's already here. We need of the ecosystem people from Bristol. Can we have candidates? Can we contact communities? And we also are going to face ethical agreement with Bristol in the context of the usage of Flame. Yeah? It's not just you can't just enter a city and having a nice technical experiment. Yeah? and that's the last experiment that we're still going to do is together with the Flame community, we're trying to do a summer school. And there we trying to, this is a challenge where we're one of the participants of the summer school. Other partners are also joining, yeah. But we're trying in a very condensed way. Let's do some urban journalism, yeah. Have experience with programming, be aware of components, do storytelling, go out, yeah. Think about the future of Bristol, capture media using the platform, and then make a kind of documentary. Very challenging one, yeah. And we're trying to. This is in the scope of this future smart city, where hopefully the students or the participants could make a major statement in the Future City Festival 2019 in Bristol. Okay, I think that's yeah. If you need more, these are the guys who are working. Mike, Mark in class. I think I'm.
Okay, Mark, thank you very much. We have one final presentation, which I'm going to give. It's a short presentation with some facts in it on the process. Can you stop sharing your screen, Mark?
Yeah, how to do this, stop share. Yeah, voila, this should be stopped, yeah?
Yeah, it's all good. Okay, one more talk, and then we're over to the Q&A session. So in this presentation, I'm going to go through the practicalities of the process of submitting a proposal. So this call is looking for experiments. You've heard much about the what we offer, what we're looking for, and you've had an example from BRT of the sort of things that are happening right now. I've already been through this slide, but just to remind you that there are two areas. There's one looking at localized video, targeting today's devices, and there's another area looking at augmented and mixed reality, production, consumption, and delivery. So we have a cool budget of 540,000 euros. We're looking for two types of trials, SMEs and industry, and they have different budgets allocated to them, but in total we're looking to fund 6 experiments. Just to go through and reinforce some important information. All partners must be eligible for funding in H2020 projects. We are looking for proposals from a single party, and a proposer can only be funded in one proposal. So even if you choose to fund multiple proposals, you will, and you're lucky enough to get them multiple proposals ranked high enough for funding, we will only choose one. Experiments under SMEs are for small and medium-sized enterprise according to the EC definition. And obviously, to avoid conflicts of interest, applications will not be accepted by persons or organisations who are partners to the Flame consortium. So we can't bid for our own money. A proposer must select a single infrastructure. So you will either do this in Barcelona or Bristol, and that infrastructure will act as a mentor and will be the partner that completes the feasibility check. And we will have at least 2 experiments in each city. So there will be some distribution of the experiments between Barcelona and Bristol. The deadline for feasibility check is the 17th of May. The deadline for submission is the 10th of June. You'll hear results by the end of June. And the earliest start date is the 9th of July. The purpose of the feasibility check, as the name suggests, is to make sure that what you're proposing is feasible. Therefore, we expect a draft of the sections A, B, C, and J. And it's strongly suggested that you get in touch with us to get more information about the feasibility check if needed. The draft proposals can be submitted through the same form as where you submit the actual proposal, and this is available online, and you'll see, if you go to that link, you'll see the form that is required. The feasibility check will be done by the infrastructure partners primarily, but others may also be involved. And what we're really looking at is, are you asking for the right number of resources compared to what is available? Is this ethical? Can it be done in the real life infrastructures that we offer? The feedback is about the feasibility. It's not the evaluation of the proposal itself. So we're not looking at the value that's generated or the impact or anything like that. We're just saying, can this run or not? And the feedback that you receive must be included in the final version of the proposal. So we don't have to we won't be running a feasibility check during the evaluation. We'll just include what feedback has been given. Our evaluation criteria is given below. So we have 8 criteria, maximum total score of 55, covering all these different areas, and you can see that in the table here. As I said, the earliest start of the experiment is the 9th of July. The SME trials, the end will be the 31st of January, the latest end, and the industry trials, which are 12 months in duration, no later than the 31st of August 2019. So there we go. That's Flame, that's the project, that's what we offer, that's what we are looking for, and I would open to the floor to ask any questions. When you ask a question, it's up to you. You can give us your name or you can remain anonymous. It doesn't really matter. We're just here to answer anything that you may have.
Hello, my name is Alicia from Gradian. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi Alicia. Welcome to Flame.
Hello, yeah, I have a question regarding the open call. In your first presentation, you mentioned that there are 2 main scopes for the call, for localized video production and the other related to augmented reality. Yes. So my question is, in the open call experiments, we have to go only for one of them. If we can mix ballots from both scopes, or if we have to complete any of them with the ballots mentioned in your first presentation. If you can clarify this.
Yeah, we would prefer you to go for one or the other. And the reason that is because the technology that's needed is slightly different. So for example, in the first bullet on localized media production, we would expect this to be based, or it could be based on the foundation media services we offer. It's not necessary, it's not mandated. And so we would, considering the available budget certainly for the SMEs, we would expect that to be the case. So yeah, in answering your question, I would expect for you to be able to focus on one or the other, but otherwise the impact will not be sufficient.
And inside the scope, for example, in localized video production, there are 2 ballots. Should we complete or ask for both, or we go only for one?
In the scope of within each scope, it's really up to you to decide. You can go for both, or you can go for one.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Now, this is Antonio from Hub. One quick question is because regarding the use cases and the pilot in Barcelona and Bristol, I found out they have already defined very clear the challenge. My question is, they are open for any additional, as part of the feasibility check, as part of any additional application? Because, for example, we have already some existing application for touring purpose, and we would like to know if this kind of application could be also evaluated using the frame infrastructure, or must be limited also to the defined use case and challenge.
Okay, so let me just clarify. The application you said was tourist. So I didn't quite hear the question. Can you clarify when
sorry.
you?
Yeah. Mainly, sorry, because I am traveling, so maybe my connection is horrible. So the main point is that for Bristol use case pilot is limited the use cases, or we can propose different kind of applications based on our existing market and experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't constrain the type of application, although the target of the project is around the creative industries. So
Okay.
although we would like creative industries, although in this call, but as you can understand, that's significantly broad. So this could be tourism, this could be gaming, this could be journalism. I mean, we're not constraining them.
For tourists, that is what we like to explore. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi, this is Martin Reed from the University of Essex. Can you hear me?
Hi, Martin.
Sorry, excuse me. I've got a question about university involvement. So we've got a video use case, possibly user-generated in terms of an education scenario. Is that something that you mentioned industry and SMEs? Would universities be able to apply on the scheme in that sort of scenario?
Okay, so we have debated this, as you can imagine. This is an impact-orientated project. Now, we believe research centres with an enterprise or industrial focus would be in scope. If you can demonstrate a link to industrial support, then we may consider it, but it's definitely not the core focus of what we're looking for.
Yeah, I understand. If I have an education use case and the industry is education, is that so media in education, for example, streaming lectures, things like that?
That's interesting. That's a sort of.
We are an industry as well now.
yeah, I understand the use case. Potentially. What I suggest, I can't say yes or no. What I suggest is that you contact us with a few sentences.
Yeah.
And we will get back to you because it's at the border. I can tell.
That's great. Yes, we get some feedback. Fantastic. Thank you.
What we don't want you to do is spend lots of time working on something and then it being out of scope.
Exactly. That's why I asked the question. Thanks for that clarification.
So someone raised a hand here in the webinar. Themis, can you actually speak up now?
Yes. Hi. Actually, I sent also this question to Michael Boniface in the chat. My question is the following. If one component that could be offered by us, because we are a data analytics and machine learning company, would be in line with the scope of the call in terms of extending the Flake platform with some extended capabilities that are not present in the current implementation as we see from the deliverables. And specifically, I would like to ask whether, for example, one extension that would analyze some properties of the incoming streams in respect to their privacy compliance. So if there is some leakage of private data of the user, which along with, as the presenter presented from VRT, this is an important legal issue. Or, for example, another extension that could help the edge computing infrastructure to automatically adjust the video servers using some deep learning techniques that would predict, for example, a sharp rise of the incoming loads. For example, if in some specific place of the city, suddenly there are a lot of people congested due, let's say, to a fire or a traffic accident, then these people would like to transmit their video. And it is not efficient for the edge cloud to be up and running with a lot of virtual machines all the time. This means that suddenly, if we see a lot of people trying to send video, we could predict this sharp rise of incoming traffic to the edge cloud, and then we could allocate properly the number of video servers that would properly serve this very sudden rise of demand. Otherwise, the SLA of the end user would be not good if you have a few video servers allocated all the time. And this is a work that we have already, this is work that we are pushing in our commercial carrier grade product for the web RTC service, for example. This is
okay. So this,
question, but I tried to put all of the details we would like to ask.
so I will answer, and maybe Sebastian, if you can add, if necessary. So the Flame platform, the architectural abstraction does not include the media services themselves. The media service is an additional element that we offer, which are deployed within the platform. Now, the first case you gave about the analysis of video streams and using that to adapt content in some intelligent way could certainly be part of this call. That's for sure. It's within the content workflow, let's say, primarily. And so, yes, if you could define a workflow that intelligently provides some sort of content adaptation, considering ethical constraints or whatever requirements you would come up with, that's certainly within scope. Now, the second scenario you gave is actually part of the work of the platform itself. It's not to say that it's not interesting, but I think certainly for this call, I would say that it was out of scope of what we're looking to do. Sebastian?
Okay. Thank you very much.
So it's really because the placement, the understanding where to place certain things is knowledge within the platform and the APIs in order to place and in order to do all the registrations of new instances, again, is part of the platform itself. So a meter service on top does not have, there's actually no interface for the meter service on top to do that. Having said this, I mean, if the proposal has like a very basic service delivery platform, like some MPEG-Dash scenario or WebRTC you mentioned, and then on top you build something where you can say, I can give certain information back to the platform, but that's where the proposal stops. This is certainly interesting, and I mean, I think it sounds reasonable to look into such proposal, but again, to really tell the platform to reconfigure it, that is not scope.
I think what is in scope potentially is providing the knowledge around workload. So if you have a service and that service understands the distribution of requests across a geographic location and can offer that information to the platform in terms of cross-layer elements, that would be, that potentially could be very interesting.
Right. Thank you both for your precise answers. So I understood from the last statement of Michael that if we could, for example, have one, let's say, machine analytics platform, which is our commercial platform, that could predict the load, the incoming load of the requests and things like that, using machine learning techniques, and offer this information to Flame itself, so that the Flame platform could leverage this information in order to better serve the use cases and the users. This could be also in line with the call, as far as I understood from the last sentence, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, okay. So thank you very much for your answer, both of you.
Okay, so if there are no further questions, I will bring the webinar to a close. We appreciate your interest in our open call. We are available to answer questions, and there may be some of you that have sent us emails already that we've not responded to, but we've been preparing for this and we'll get back to you over the next 24 hours. Now, we have made a recording of the call. I think we may need to request that be made available to all of you. I will talk to VRT about getting the approval for that, and if necessary, we will just take the first part of the call, which is the flame partners, and avoid the questions at the end. There are different ways of solving that problem. However, so if you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to contact us, and we look forward to receiving your proposals. Thank you.
So there's someone who raised his hand.
Okay.
Yes, hi, Jacob Winkes from Winkes Group. Just want the clarification between the difference of the experiments between like the SMEs and the industry. So are there any different like focus for them, or is the same focus only with a different like capabilities or resources?
There's no difference. You can SME or industry can go for either. I think our expectation is that the impact there may be greater engagement in the value chain through industry. So, for example, I would expect it may be that industry do more towards the service side. This may not be the case, but in comparison to SMEs, who may be more related to the apps and less on the service side. But we may be wrong in that assumption. It's just that the scale of the impact I would expect from industry would be larger.
Okay, thank you.
There's one new message. Okay, yeah, message from Pedro. I just said this is recorded and subject to consent. It will be shared. The presentations at the start will certainly be shared because that's Flame Partners, but the questions afterwards obviously are subject to consent, and it may be less useful. Okay, so final opportunity to ask questions. Okay, there's one final thing that's come up on the chat. Someone's joined an hour late. Any ETA for that? So the ETA for that, I'm guessing, is the recording. We'll make this available within the next 48 hours. Okay. Thank you for your time this morning. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Yeah, goodbye.
Bye.